Don't tell anyone. But this new iPhone is an absolute piece of shit. I need lots of that. That's the breakfast of champions. Waffle House coffee is just wow. What's up, guys? Dan, English Dan, Modern Dad. You know the score, blah blah. Anyway, so sorry I've not had a video out for about a week. Been really busy this week, as I mentioned last time, and yeah, this is the first chance I've got to do anything. So, as many of you will know who follow along with me, I've just had a Note 9, had the OnePlus 6, and you name it, I have the Pixels, I've got, you name it, I've had them. Android phones are my favorite phones. I'm not going to call myself a fanboy because I do appreciate other devices as well. I used to work for Apple, so I'm not an Apple hater. Well, let's say I'm not an Apple device hater. The company's a bagger. Anyway, so yeah, I did something recently which I didn't think I'd do again, and I decided to sell my Galaxy Note 9 to buy the iPhone XS Max. Wait a minute. Don't shoot me, Android fanboys. Don't shoot me. Reasons for it. Why I was brought over to wanting to try the iPhone to see if I could get back to it wasn't solely the iPhone, it was the Series 4 Apple Watch, which I've not got yet because I wanted to make sure I was okay with what I was using before I dived in and spent the other $400 or $500, whatever it's going to be. So the reasons behind that were, if you follow me on Twitter or anything like that, I have heart disease, and the new Series 4 Apple Watch has the ECG feature, which could be huge for somebody like me. That the Apple Watch, the Series 4 Apple Watch, is made for someone like me. You know, it brings me into the equation big time. The fact that my watch can take an accurate ECG, and it's got to be accurate because it wouldn't have gone through the FCC or FDA or the FD, whatever. It wouldn't have gone through all that and got its medical certification. And the fact that I can take ECGs now from a device on my wrist and have a look, and it can tell me if there's something wrong, and it can send those ECGs to my doctors, is huge. So this is why I'm here right now. Right now, here, this is the iPhone XS Max. And that is a second iPhone XS Max. Hang on a minute. So, whoa, again. The reason I'm carrying two right now is because one of these is going to my teenage daughter that some of you may have met on these videos, whatever. She's going to take over the T-Mobile XS Max, because I went and jumped all over the Sprint XS Max deal, where if I traded an iPhone 7, I got a XS Max for $4.72 a month, something like that, less than $5. Stupid not to. $41, less than $5. 41, no. So, yeah. What do I think of the iPhone? So I had an iPhone 10 last year, and it was built really nice. The build quality was pretty good. And it had a 5.inch screen, which I thought I'd be okay with, but it was too small. I like the larger screen phones. I just can't help myself. And the fact that it was in such a small, compact body as well, it made it feel so much smaller. And then I had issues last year, and I know a few people have had this issue, but then again, a few people haven't, so it's weird. But Face ID would work 7 times out of 10. And I know what you're thinking, hey, that's not bad, it's only failed 3 times on you. But how many times do you pull your phone out and look at your phone to unlock it when you've got one of these with Face ID? I'm in a business where I'm on my phone a lot, so I'm answering calls, emails. I could pull my phone out 50 to 100 times a day, probably even more. I mean, I've not even counted it, it could even be more. So for every 10 times it fails, so for every 100, I have 30 fails, and that can become really frustrating. So the iPhone 10 didn't do it for me. The iPhone 7 I had the 7 Plus model because obviously I like the larger form factor, like myself. And that was a really nice phone, but the call quality on it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. People could hear so much background noise. It was just, so that had to go. So the last iPhone that I had the 6S Plus and the 6 Plus. Was it the 6 Plus? I think they brought, anyway, It's either the 6 or the 6S Plus. I had them both. And I loved that phone. That was the first iPhone since the iPhone 4 came out that I actually really enjoyed. And ever since then, I've not. I started off with Apple. I had the original iPhone. I had people offering me buckets of money, and I think about it now and I'm like, you fool, you should have sold it. But I didn't. So I had the first iPhone the day of release. I had the 3G. I had the 3GS, which was probably my favorite iPhone at the time. When white phones were like alive and kicking and everybody wanted one, the 3GS really stood out. Went with the 4, nah. Went with the 5, nah. Like I say, I'm pretty sure it was an iPhone 6 Plus that was my favorite. So now we're at the iPhone XS Max. And this is the best iPhone I have used since the iPhone 6 or 6S Plus, whichever one it was. It's fantastic. So let me tell you a little bit about this. Let me pull this case off. So what do I think of this iPhone? I'm coming from an Android, not a fanboy, but somebody who prefers Android. So the build quality on this thing is amazing. It's fantastic. I mean, it just looks, it's everything Apple portray. It's just class. It looks like $1,000 or $1,100 if you get the Max. It feels substantial in your hands. When you're using it, you know you're using an iPhone. And that's the thing. You know you're using something that's built well, that people want, and looks great. You know you're getting, I'm not going to say value for money, but you know you're getting something substantial for your money. So yeah, I love the build quality. The build quality is fantastic. The sound out of this thing is really good. I am shocked at how good the stereo speakers are working on this. They're even better than the 10, and the 10 wasn't bad. But the XS Max sounds fantastic. I like it a lot when it comes to audio. And the screen's great. Everyone's going to moan, oh, it's still this and it's still that and it's got the notch, and it's, listen, once you've used the phone with the notch, like the OnePlus 6, and I didn't see it. It goes away. The notch goes away. It's just, that's the way it is. And I then end up with a 6-inch display pretty much, depending on how big the notch is. I'm not really sure. I've not really gone that deep into it. But the colors and the accuracy on it are fantastic. They look great. It's brilliant for watching my YouTube, or I've recently signed up to the DAZN network, so if you're into boxing, $10 a month. You get the Anthony Joshua fight has just been on. All these boxing matches from England, my home country, and I get them for $10 a month, and they look fantastic on this. I mean, super sharp. Google Play Movies. I mean, I'm heavily invested into Google, obviously, so I'm not all that invested into the Apple side of things, but I can still access all my Google Play Music, Google Play Movies. Movies look fantastic on this device still. They're, you know, they're supposedly gimped because Google like to do that if you're not using on one of their own devices. But no, looks good. Netflix looks great. It's just been a really good experience. iOS it's still iOS, and for me it's in need of some kind of visual update. I know they've changed it over the years, but it's still the same old iOS basic functions that we had when it very first landed. I mean, what I'm saying by that, I'm talking about the launcher. Coming from Android, obviously, I have a lot of customization in my launcher, and I didn't go crazy customizing my launcher. What I like to do, which I can't do on the iPhone, and this drives me crazy because I've been using Android so long, I can't control where my apps are going to be. As in, I'm told that they've got to go in this formation on my screen, and they've all got to go as far to the left as possible and all as high as possible, and they keep moving along. I can't leave spaces or anything, or just have my favorite apps on my front screen and things like that. So that's kind of annoying because it's kind of limiting. But as a whole, iOS is fast. It's really smooth. I mean, I have no problems with jitters or anything. A couple of apps every now and then will hang. I don't know if that's because I've got the Max and it's scaling or anything like that to the larger screen. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's been pretty good. I can live with iOS and probably get used to it. The cameras on this thing are fantastic. I keep saying the word fantastic with this phone, have you noticed? The cameras are great. Everyone says it lags behind the Pixel. Maybe it does a little bit, but in everyday use, not a chance. It's as good. There's the iPhone XS camera, I don't care what DxO rating says, I can write a number down on the table as well. That camera for everyday use is great. That front-facing selfie camera in portrait mode, I've used it as my Facebook profile picture, and I'll throw it up on here quick. It's my ugly mug, but with the sky behind me, with the sun directly behind, like literally directly behind my head. And the quality of the picture is amazing. The detail it's catching, the edges are crispy, the sky is really blue, the clouds are all detailed. It just looks great. It's probably one of the best pictures, portrait selfies I've ever taken, and that takes them because the Pixel 2 XL, boy, that is a machine when it comes to taking photography. But yeah, the rear-facing camera, the video on this thing is amazing. I'll drop a link down here. TLD, Jonathan Morrison did a YouTube video on the video quality of the new iPhone XS, and it's for real. He's hit the nail on the head. The video that he made, it's phenomenal. I am probably going to use the iPhone camera for some of my reviews from now on, when I don't want to be carrying around the camera and the tripod, and I can just use my DJI Osmo 2 with my iPhone. It's going to be great for some of the stuff that I need to do. It's going to give me that freedom. That's how good this is. A couple of things I don't like about the iPhone. I hate the way, and I know people are going to say, oh, well, just change it for another one. Yeah, whatever. The typing experience on the iPhone is above and beyond any other keyboard you can get. But I hate the way that I've got an iPhone XS Max, but I cannot allow a numbers row on the keyboard. I've got more than enough room for it, so give me the numbers row. Let me adjust the keyboard so I can have a numbers row. I also hate the way if I long press on a key, I don't get any symbols or anything, yet on the iPad it seems to, you know, I can long press and flip up, and give me that on the iPhone XS. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. It just makes things a pain. Another thing I don't like is the camera app, and you know, people are going to tell me, oh, it's fine, but when you've been able to just adjust your settings on the fly, it's so archaic, the camera app on the iPhone, where you have to back out, go into general, go into your camera settings, do whatever you want, come back out, go back into your app, make sure it's everything you want. If it's not, you got to do it all. Come on, Apple, let's go. Let's make the camera app 2018 worthy, not 2009 worthy. I love it. I love the phone as a whole. The shortcomings for me are not enough for me to go, you know what, screw this, because it's not that type of phone. Anybody who's using an Android right now, unless you're a blind fanboy, and it's the same goes with people who use Apple, unless you're a blind fanboy, you're not going to appreciate anything from the other side. So if you're a fanboy, don't worry about it. But if you're thinking of trying out the iPhone, I implore you to do it, because I've been Android most of my cell phone life, and I can put up with this. I know you shouldn't really put up with it, but it's not as bad as what you think it's going to be. The restrictions, the walled garden, the apps on the iPhone are just better than Android apps. It's just the way it is. Well, 90% of them, let's say. My app to control my camera that I'm looking at you now is nowhere near as good on the iPhone, only because it's not as smooth as what it is on an Android. I don't know why. It's one of those rare apps that happens to. So there is some apps that aren't as good, but 90% of the apps are better on this, and you also get them first on the iPhone. You can just tell that the developers pay more attention to the iOS side of things than they do the Android side of things. The other great thing about owning an iPhone is I am up to date all the time. All the time. Android is fragmented. Now I know people are going to be like, oh yeah, well Google need to do this. It's not Google's problem. Google's problem is the Pixel line. That's their problem. And their problem is up to date. Samsung and everybody else is not Google. They're the ones who are not up to date. They're the ones in charge of updating their devices. So unless I want to stick with a Pixel, which, you know, I probably am eventually, as my second phone, because I'm going to have a business and a personal phone. That's another story. But I'm up to date with this all the time. On my Android outside of the Pixel and the Essential phone are doing really well with this. But outside the Pixel and the Essential phone, I'm never up to date. I'm always lagging behind, and it's unfortunate that that happens. And I wish Google, even though they can't tell somebody what to do with their updates, I wish they would create something that says, okay, we've released Android Pie. You've got 90 days to update all your devices to Android Pie, or they lose Google Services access. Guess what? People are going to do it. They're going to update their devices. It's just the way it is. That's one way Google could help, because there's no way Google is going to, Samsung or someone like that is going to want to lose Google certification because they're not getting updates out in time. iPhone, you don't have that worry. It's always the same. So I love that fact. The updates for me are key. They're great. Apple are also pretty quick at throwing out fixes, whereas Samsung and things like that aren't. So coming from a pure software, keeping it up to date point of view, you can't go wrong with an Apple phone. You really can't. iPhones are the way to go if you want to stay up to date for probably 5 years. 4 to 5 years, you're going to get every new version of iOS, which is crazy. When on Android, I think Google only picks up the Pixel only, I think they guarantee 3 updates, 3 yearly major updates, plus security updates. I don't, still lags behind. So yeah, on the whole, I'm not going to do a review. This is just my Android man, his perspective as using this iPhone. I've been using it since launch day, and I absolutely love it. I am going to be rocking an iPhone XS Max in my left pocket every day for the next 18 months or so. Or 12 months, because I know I'll get the new one when it comes out next year. But I'm going to be rocking that. I am half iPhone right now. The other half of me is going to go Android with my personal phone. But yeah, I implore you, if you're on Android, take a look at the iPhone XS Max. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't. Take cost out the window and what you get in the box and things like that. If you like the phone, you like the phone. The phone is what you use. You don't use your charger every single day. Most people, you do use your charger every single day, but I mean, like now, my charger is not plugged into it. So most people, when they charge their phone, they do it at night when they're asleep, and guess what? You wake up, your phone's 100%. That's the other good thing before I just end this. The battery on the iPhone XS Max is, wow, it is for real. Now, the first day I had it, it was great. The second day I had it, I had like 4.5 hours and my phone was almost dead. Andrew Edwards was like, whoa dude, mine's lasting me 10 hours, 8 hours, whatever it was. I don't understand. And I'm like, I don't understand either. And then my girlfriend reminded me about the background refresh app, which I had like every single app on my phone refreshing and running in the background. So I went and turned off all the ones that I don't need, like running all the time, Google Maps, running all the time, Google Play Music, things like that. They don't need that. Turned it off. I can get up at 6 in the morning. Here you go. Yesterday, I went from Ohio, where I'm just outside Dayton, and I went up to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we came back yesterday from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, took my phone off charge at 6:03. Went on a tour, had my phone with me all morning of a factory, let's say. Various emails, calls, notifications from Twitter, things like that. Jumped in my car, set my GPS for 5 hours worth of GPS. And during that time, I'm also social media, Facebook, YouTube, and it. And like I say, GPS is running in the background. I get home at about 6 o'clock at night, 6:30 at night. By the time I went to bed last night, after all that usage, I still had 26% of my battery. That's crazy. I mean, the Galaxy Note battery is fantastic. It's great, but it's not as good as the battery on the iPhone. The iPhone, it's so, and this is the thing with the iPhone and the software, it's so in tune. It's what you're paying with an iPhone when it comes to software is optimization. Whether it's a MacBook Pro, the old MacBook Air, an iPad, or anything like that, they are optimized to the max to get every little bit of power out of the phone specs that are in there. And they do it with the new 7nm chip. It does it so efficiently. So yeah, if you're somebody who needs a battery who's going to last you all day and then some, that's another reason to get the iPhone XS. Max. Well, dude, one thing I hate about these names is it really does sound like HTC is the dad and Mountain Dew is the mum. They had a baby and that's what they named their kid. Tim Cook, what are you doing? Anyway, go and get yourself an iPhone, give it a try, see if you like it. I don't think you'll be disappointed, and if you are, you've got 14 days to return it.